And now it's time to put the spotlight on Balrampur Chini. Well, on the occasion of International Women's Day, we thought that we'd get in a lot more perspective around the respective sectors that a lot of these ladies actually deal in. And well, we thought that this is no better time than now to bring Balrampur Chini in focus. And we are now joined by Avantika Saraogi. She's the Executive Director at Balrampur Chini Mills. Avantika, thank you for joining in. Your journey with the sugar sector, as it has always been highly unorganized, in a highly unorganized industry and in a highly labor intensive. How did you embark on this journey?
So this is, of course, a great question. I guess I get this question asked a lot, and I love answering it because I get to talk about my grandmom. So actually, my journey is very different, I think, than any other maybe woman's journey in the sugar industry, because it was my grandmother who led our company before my dad did, and not my grandfather. So actually, in my situation, people were quite used to having a woman leader. It was never really a problem that I was a woman. On top, because they had always seen my grandmother for 30, 40 years in the business. So in fact, Madam Ji Wali factory is how our factories are known, and now there's another Madam Ji. So it's actually quite beautiful. The journey has been inspiring and gratifying, and just I think every step I can smell, I can see, and I can almost taste her contribution to this industry, where I get to now embark and make it bigger, and hopefully my daughter or my granddaughter or many other women to come will also feel the same beauty which I've got to experience.
Right, Avantika, if you could also give us an idea on the polyactic bioplastic plant. It's one of the first in India. Why is this move being made? And if you could give us more updates on this one as well.
So, this PLA bioplastic plant has been my dream. I've actually worked on it for 4 years before I could get an approval from internal management and the board, which was last year. And that's when we embarked on the journey for the project, which will commission in Q3 of next year. Why PLA, you ask? So basically, this is the time where circularity is becoming most important. Environmental consciousness has become a real thing. People aren't just greenwashing anymore, but people really do want to make or leave behind an environment that will be better for the generations to come than how we found it. Because this way is definitely not sustainable. We don't want to leave our children behind with a place where they can barely breathe. So I think that this is, definitely a great time, and this is also why we embarked on it. There's a single-use plastic ban as of last year in our country. And PLA is actually very, very good for as a replacement to those items which are banned under the SUP ban. For example, all the foodware items, all the straws, the earbuds, you name it. But all of it can be made from PLA or the compounds of PLA. So in this case, that even though PLA will end up being more expensive than a conventional plastic, which I know will be a question coming as well, I may as well answer it. We are not competing with the regular plastic, firstly. We are competing with the alternatives of plastic. So we have two edges over there. One is, of course, we're able to compete financially also. And secondly is we are able to compete on performance. The performance of PLA is exactly like plastic. For example, if it's in your hand, you cannot tell the difference between PLA or like a PET or a PP or a PE plastic product. So the performance is actually very, very good. We heard Trump say that, let's go back to plastic straws because paper straws are just bad. I mean, okay, I think it was very, very myopic the way it was said, definitely. But, the performance of paper straws is genuinely not good. And, you get a taste in your mouth, it becomes soggy and everything. It's genuinely not good. But PLA is exactly like a plastic straw. In fact, a lot of the straws in the world today are being made from PLA. So this is a great time for the product to sort of launch itself in our country as well.
Right, and everyone who's unfamiliar with PLA, as what Avantika's been talking about, it's actually polyatic acid, which is a biodegradable plant-based plastic, and that's made from renewable sources. like corn, sugarcane, and cassava. But, you know, Avantika, let's stick with this. If you could also give us more on the timelines with regards to operations, also any idea that you can give us when it comes to revenue recognition here.
So we should commission in September, October of next year, which was also what was announced in February of last year. So we are on track, absolutely. And, you know, we are going to have a capacity of 80,000 tons. Of course, it's going to take a few months for it to ramp up to 100%. So by the time we get to 100% capacity, which will be anywhere between 6 months to a year of commissioning, depending on how well we are able to commission, in FY 27-28 is when you'll see it in the balance sheet, in the annual reports hitting our books, probably 100%. So at that moment, we will have made 50% of our revenue from green products or non-sugar products. And the profitability of this particular vertical will be EBITDA 35% EBITDA. Which will bring up the average of our entire portfolio, and we should make a revenue of close to 2,000 crores from it.
Right, and also if you could give us an idea on the blended margins aspect as well. What can you tell us here?
That's hard to say, because as you know that the government has a very large control over our industry. So where we would have thought that the ethanol prices would have risen with regard to FRP this year and last year, that didn't happen. So it's very hard for us to give guidance on profitability, and we don't actually do that because it's too uncertain what the government might do. So even though the ethanol prices didn't rise, and actually it's very, very bad for the segment and unexpected completely. Like, for example, last year, it was still something that we could have wrapped our heads around because it was an election year. There was pressure about inflation. But this year, for them to not increase the ethanol price was actually a very big disappointment for the whole industry. And we made the representations, and we're talking to all the relevant people there. But to give guidance on profitability blended, it's impossible.
Right, Avantika, thank you so much for joining us here and giving us your perspective on that new business. We wish you all the best for that particular venture.